Okay, so today is February 14th, 2019, and it has been exactly 1 year since we lost our father, grandfather, husband to my mom. And I don't know, I've been a little anxious about today just because I just felt like I was about to relive the worst day of my life. So I thought about it and I just said, well, since I'm going to relive it, might as well record it. It's going to happen anyways. And I say this is my journey because although I have 10 other brothers and sisters and my mom, we all had our own experience and we all are dealing with grief in our own way. And everybody's journey has been different and is different and will continue to be different. So I wanted to go back to February 11th, 2018, when it all began. Like, this is when it started. So February 11th, 2018, it was a Sunday, and my dad is a pastor of St. Andrew Baptist Church. And it was for me, it was a regular Sunday. I went to church, had my kids with me. I get there and I sit down and, in church, and I see my dad over sitting to the side, close to his office. And I look up at one point in time and he's motioning for me to come. And so I go over there and he needed some water. And so I go get him some water, and I could kind of tell he wasn't feeling well. And so when I went into the office, my mom was in the office and she was just saying, like, Daddy wasn't feeling good and she's trying to get him to go to the hospital, but he didn't want to. Typical dad. He never liked going to the hospital. And so she asked me to go get an usher to help roll him in from his chair because he was like a little weak. And so I go get an usher and they roll him in. And, I'm saying, hey, Dad, like, how you feeling? And, his voice is kind of low. And, he said he was doing okay, but he wanted to go lay down. And so I was like, Daddy, why don't you just go to the hospital real quick and just let them, check out and make sure everything's okay. And so he finally, we pulled the car up, and I don't know if in that time, if he thought he was going home or if he thought he was going to the hospital. Mama ended up saying, I'm just going to take him. He's going to be upset with me, but I'm going to take him to the hospital. And so it was like, okay. And so she had to send a letter to the pulpit, all that stuff. And she takes him to St. John Hospital. And so me and my little sister, Tabby, Albert Thaddeus was at church. Judge was preaching. And so I sent a note to either Eric and she sent it to Judge. I can't remember how that happened, but this happens before. It's happened several times. And so it didn't feel like it was anything different. So we go to St. John after church, me, Tabby, and Bert Thaddeus. And then eventually Judge came. And that day, I just remember him in and out. And my dad was an LVAD recipient. And so St. John wasn't fully qualified to take care of his LVAD needs. And so what they usually do is he'll get there and then they'll call his doctors over at Integris in Oklahoma City and look at his labs and all of that stuff and decide if he needs to be airlifted or by ambulance brought to Oklahoma City. And so we get to the hospital, and he's going in and out of like being sleepy because he's extremely tired. And then he was also in a lot of pain. I can't remember where his pain was, but it wasn't like my dad to like complain about. Even if he was in pain, he always fought through it, and the average person wouldn't be able to tell. And so they ended up deciding that they were going to send him to Oklahoma City via ambulance. And so it took a while to get there. And so as he's trying to sleep and the doctors are giving him the medicine that he can take, mom kept like adjusting and readjusting him because his shoulder, I think it was his shoulder, he was just in so much pain. And so he would finally lay down and get a little relief, and then he would be uncomfortable again. And so they readjusted him. What I remember about that Sunday is he had me and Tabby. He was like, to come feel how heavy his bag was. He had an LVAD, and then he also, I think a month or so before, he had an infection, so he ended up having another bag put on. So he was carrying like 2 bags, and he was like, feel how heavy this is, like, and so we'll go lift it, went over there, and it's a lot for one person to carry, and so I just remember him having us to feel how heavy his bag was on him, like it was a weight. So fast forward, the ambulance come. And like any other time, me and Tabby will go to the house with mom and help her pack so she can go as quickly as possible, following behind the ambulance. And so we help her get the stuff together, and she leaves, and she makes it to Oklahoma City. I'm not for sure if one of my brothers and sisters took her or she drove by herself, but she gets to Oklahoma City. And so that night, and so Monday morning, February the 13th, February the 12th, what I remember about that day is dropping the kids off at school, and I'm headed to work, and I get a text message. We have a family text message. I'm going to have to get some tissue or something. We get the family text message, and it says, "Pray now." Dad's defibrillator went off. It was I can't remember the word she used, but it was like a rapid fire where it was continuous. And so I just remember driving to work, my heart sank, and I'm crying, and I'm trying not to get into a car wreck because I couldn't see. And so in that moment, I decided I'm not going to work. I'm going to Oklahoma City. And so I called Tabby because me and Tabby, we road dogs, and that's what we do. We always ride together to the city. And so I called my job, tell them I'm not coming in, call my husband, let him know, got that text, headed to the city. Me and Tabby meet up. And if you know me and Tabby, you know that we're the singing sisters. And so every time we used to come back and forth from Oklahoma City to Tulsa, from seeing Dad in the hospital, we always were singing. And we aren't the best singers in our family, but that was our thing. So that trip was very quiet for us. I cannot remember us talking at all. And I feel like we knew that we knew that it was a different trip. It was just a different feeling than what we had before. For me, what I had before was a different feeling. And so we get to Integris Hospital. Mama and Berthadius was there, and I can't remember if Prophet had made it or not. And although it felt different to me, I was still expecting the same results. Like, okay, he goes to the hospital, he comes for days, weeks, months, whatever. I had we never had a problem driving back and forth. And so it was different drive, but I wanted the same results. Like, okay, he's in the hospital. They're going to do what they're going to do. In a few weeks or whatever, he'll be coming home. But hug Mama, hug Berthadius. And, he always goes to ICU first before they put him on the floor, just because of the complications that can go along with the LVAD. And I remember Berthadius looking to Mama and asking Mama, have you told them yet? And so Mama had a look in her face and she said no. And she said she was waiting for either Dr. Doug or Ty, is one of the a top RN that deals with the LVAD at Integris, to kind of explain everything that was going on. And so Dr. Doug, it was Dr. Doug. Dr. Doug came inside the waiting room, and it was me, Tabby, and I can't remember the other brothers and sisters, Berthadius and Mama, who else was there, but he basically said, they have done all that they can do, and that another surgery would be too much for Daddy to go through. And so now what they wanted to do is provide comfort care. Never heard of comfort care before. What is comfort care? Comfort care is in the last stages of your life that you would probably typically be in pain. You would not be in pain because of the medication that they're on to kind of block the pain. And so in an instance, he was just saying, like, he would never leave that hospital. So he finished telling us that. He asked us if we had any questions. Dr. Doug is awesome. We asked questions that we could, like, could we wait and try to see if he will be strong enough later, and all that stuff. So Dr. Doug said what he said, and Mama encouraged us. She said, Daddy's in ICU. Let's, get yourself together and make sure you go back, and let him know that you're here so he can hear your voice. And she said, make sure you're strong. And don't kind of like break down, just because he didn't need that at that time. And so we got ourselves together. Those who could go then went then. For me, I waited a minute because it's hard to see your father like that. And so it was just a hard walk going down that hallway. And you see him, and he looks peaceful. So I walk in, I pull it together, and I walk in, and Mama says, honey, Net's here. As I go in, I'm saying, hey, Daddy. The last thing he said to me, he said, Daddy Pooh. Nobody says Nettie Pooh or calls me that better than my daddy, my mama, and Bert is the only other people that really call me that I will legitly answer to. And I said, hey, Daddy, happy to see you. Can't wait for you to get better and all this stuff. The hard part about that first visit going inside of there, Dad was on dialysis, and he knew that, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, he would, in Tulsa, he always went to dialysis. And so he was asking, has the doctors talked to downstairs, I think it was the third floor, the dialysis floor, to see when he was going to go get his next thing of dialysis. One thing about Daddy and what Mama had told us is that he had always wanted the doctors and her to just be upfront with him about his treatment. Like, don't sugarcoat it, And so that was Daddy. He wanted it straight. He wanted it honest. But Mama decided to tell him that he wasn't going to get dialysis because there's basically no need. And so Monday, the rest of the siblings came in town, and we had a family meeting. And I think Todd came in that time, the RN specialist came in and kind of explained it to the other siblings that came in. Again, asked us if we had questions and kind of explained everything to us, which that was really helpful. And so he basically said that if his defibrillator went off again, or the next time it goes off and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, which is get the heart back pumping and flowing right, then they wouldn't, try to revive him. And so with that being said, the comfort care, they wanted to see when will we be ready to say our last goodbye. And so we all discussed it. And Mom said, she had asked, she said, well, what about February the 14th, Valentine's Day? Some of my family and weren't able to come in town, and so she wanted to give people chance to come, church members, his daddy's deacons, and close friends and other preacher friends and stuff, wanted to give them time to be able to come and say their last goodbye. And so she said that Daddy promised her, he promised her another Valentine's Day that they would do something special. And so she wanted this one last Valentine's. And so everybody agreed. And it's something about knowing something is going to happen and you can't do anything to stop it. You can't prepare. There's no way to really prepare yourself for what's going to happen. You can't change anything. So Monday, those who came. I can't, a lot of Daddy's preachers and friends, I can't begin to name all the names. Pastor Scott, Roger Cutler, Pastor Reed, Pastor Sister McDaniel, Pastor Tucker, a lot. I'm not going to try to name a lot. And so that was Monday. Tuesday, February the 13th. That day, it's a real blur for me. I don't remember Tuesday morning until Tuesday evening-ish. I feel like I just remember being in a daze. It's like You're numb. You know what's about to happen, but you can't stop it from happening. And so that day was a big blur. That morning and that evening was a big blur. Tuesday night, my brothers and sisters and I said, Mama, Daddy asked for Valentine's and was gonna do something special for Mom. And so we all decided that let's make it the best last one that they were gonna get together. And so the nurses, everybody who worked with my daddy were so awesome. We told them what we were going to do. They allowed us to decorate his hospital room with rose petals, and we went and printed off pictures with him and just got all the little Valentine's cards. And if you know my daddy, you know he loved my mama, and he always went above and beyond for her, and he wanted her whatever he gifted to her, he gave her the best gifts. And so our money couldn't match our daddy's money, but we know we did it like he would want us to do it, and oftentimes he would bring us in on making sure the whole setup and stuff was right. And so big cars, big balloons, just decorations all around, and we did that. He promised her dinner and a movie, and so we went to, I think it was Red Lobster. I can't remember the meal, the location, the restaurant that we got the meal from. And so we set up her laptop for the movies, and she wanted to watch the movie with Taraji P inside of there. I can't think, I'm having a brain lapse. Hidden Figures. And so we set up the room, and she went and got herself an outfit, a nice red shirt, and combed her hair back. And when I walked in there we walked inside to kind of fix up, her and one of my brothers had put Daddy in a black button-up shirt, and a red tie. And so they were matching correlated, just something that they would have done anyways. And so her favorite rose is a yellow rose. And so we had yellow roses, and he had, we placed one in his hand, and we set up the room, and we had Mama walk in, and we had music playing, just something nice. And the table sat next to his bed. And so she sat there and ate dinner and watched a movie. A funny thing about that was anytime Mama and Daddy went to the movies, they always fell asleep. And so when Mama came out, she said, well, nothing changed, because she was watching the movie and ended up falling asleep. And so that was really funny. And so after that, she did that until about midnight. She wanted to go in, make it to Valentine's Day, doing that. And what happened next is she told us all, she gave us all time to go in and have our own time with Daddy, and tell him we love him and thank him for everything. We went oldest to youngest, and there was no time limit. And so I really appreciate that about her, that as his wife, and all the years that they had together, that she allowed us to have our own time, no matter how long it was. I remember, it's a period of being upset and confused at the same time. A funny story. for some alcoholics and stuff, they try to like numb the pain or whatever. I feel like that's probably why they drink so much. So some of my drinking brothers and sisters and myself, we had bought a bottle of Christian Brothers. And the funny thing about Christian Brothers is Mama said that like on one of their first dates, Daddy pulled up to a liquor store and told her, you know, to go inside and go get them something to drink. And so Mom was like, well, why do I have to go inside? And so, you know, Daddy has always been a preacher or whatever. And so I guess they were in a place where people might have known him or whatever. And so she goes inside and she said she's looking around. And the first thing she saw was thing says Christian Brothers. So she felt like since they was a Christian, since they were Christians, like, you know, this was probably the best thing to get. And so we love that story. That was our first time ever hearing it. And so we went to the liquor store and found Christian Brothers, and not all of them, but some of the heathen ones and myself, we, you know, had some shots or whatever just to ease our anxiety. I feel like for me, that's what I did. And so it's a thing when you try not to go to sleep because you know what's going to happen the next day. And so everybody kind of like went off. We were together, and then, you know, you go off just to kind of be by yourself and get your thoughts and just kind of, I don't know, just reflect, feel what you feel, you know, by yourself. And so, you know, my husband and my children came up and got to say their goodbye. And Damon said he just thanked him for being a father to him. Like Daddy never called Damon his son-in-law, and Damon never called Dad his father-in-law. Like they were father and son, and they had a special relationship, and Daddy loved him, helped cutting his hair and cooking him some ribs or whatever, and talking about God and the Bible and Damon's views and Daddy's views. And it was just a special relationship that Damon Sr. really appreciated. And then it came to Bailey and D2. As parents, you try to be like strong for your kids because being young and experiencing a death, you don't really, I feel like they don't really understand. Is their granddaddy's here one day and then the next day he's not. And so how do you kind of like explain that? And for D2, he never liked hospitals, ever liked hospitals. And so he's always like, I feel like he has a presence or something of God that I don't know. He never liked hospitals. And so they got to, you know, I don't think D2 hugged and kissed him just because he was scared. I think Bailey held his hand, and I think she did give him a hug. And so I think they went back. They went back to Tulsa because they had school and work. And I finally, you know, I think maybe slept for maybe an hour or so, just because you try not to sleep because in hopes that time will stop. For me, I felt like, well, maybe time will stop. If I don't go to sleep, then I don't have to get to the next day to know what's about to really happen. So Wednesday, February 14th comes, and Mama comes inside of there, and everybody's just, you know, not really wanting what's about to happen. She said, let's take one more family picture. Because today will be the last day that you have your daddy alive. And so We mustered up. I don't think I could smile through it. I tried to, but the tears wouldn't stop. But we took a last picture, and then they were ready for us to come inside the room. And so Mom said on that Sunday when Daddy wasn't feeling good that morning, got up, and she asked him if he wanted to stay there, and he told her no, like he wanted to go to church and wanted to have some church. And so Mama said, let's take him to church. And if you know, my brothers and my sisters, our whole family is a singing family, musically Christian. We believe in God, and we know that when he leaves here, where he will be. And so we go into the room. All the nurses, let me talk about the nurses first and the staff that worked with him. There were so many people who in Integris Hospital that came to say their goodbyes to Daddy, because while he was there throughout the last 5 years, while he was in a hospital, he was praying for them. He was praying for their family. He would talk about the Sunday school lesson, talk about the Bible, talk about life. And so many staff members came in there and said, Pastor Bailey, you have touched my heart. You touched my grandkids' heart. You touched my children's heart. And I was blown away about with the amount of love that he showed to people on his sick bed. Like, if you're sick in a hospital, most people just want people to come in and take care of them so you can feel better. Daddy, on the other hand, came and he ministered, and that's what he loved to do. And so I find that amazing. And so some of his main nurses and stuff was in there when we came inside of there, and they were crying just as much as we were crying. Todd, Dr. Doug, and we began to sing songs. His favorite songs down through the years. God's been good to me. We sang, I don't remember all the songs we sang. We sang, You're a Good, Good Father. That's who you are. We sang, so many songs. I just can't remember. And then Juju prayed. No, Juju read the scripture. And we're standing around the bed, and, he's breathing. And Mom said, I didn't see Mom motion, but she motioned for the nurse as to say, it's time. And the nurse comes over, and she hits the switch. And probably like 2 minutes later, he took his last breath. 10:06 a.m., February 14th. And his last breath, he looked at Mama, and I felt like, what love. He looked right at Mama. That's love. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if he could really see her at that time, but to know that, I don't know. But I felt like on his last breath, something left me. I don't know. It just felt weird. It was, I don't know. And it's something about like knowing that you go to sleep with a father, and then the next day you wake up and you don't have a father no more present on this earth. And what I've learned in this year of grief about life, about love. I know that death changes you. I feel like I have changed. I can't really say it was much for the better, for the worse. Um, for the better, I feel like it's changed me to kind of love more, love harder, um, appreciate the time that you have with people in your life. For the worse, I have thoughts of like, you lose yourself at some point in time. It's like, what do you do? Like, how do you continue living life for 30 something years? You've had this person to love you and to nurture you and to provide for you, and then they're gone. It's like a piece of you leaves with it, and that's hard to adjust to. It's hard to deal with. uh, Grief comes in stages. uh, um, Back and forth for me. Some days I feel good, some days I don't. Might be more moody than I used to be. I don't know. Sometimes I wish that maybe that I wouldn't gotten married and had kids, because to do that is to make yourself vulnerable to love, knowing that one day you're gonna die and they're gonna feel the way you feel, or they're gonna die and you have to refill the pain and hurt all over again. And I mean, I thought, like, is it worth it? I don't know. Uh, it's taught me to treasure the friends that I have. Like, friends who understand, that don't try to push you and rush you through it, and understand that, okay, if I don't answer the phone, it's okay if I don't want to go out. It's okay if I don't want to just be around people. I appreciate good friends. Surround yourself with good friends that understand and that don't make the whole situation about them. Grief is a motherfucker. I mean, I'm sorry for cussing. Grief is hard. Depression, for me, it's hard to being a therapist. What I've learned about myself is that it's easier for me to talk to people about their problems than it is for me to talk to people. I don't like feeling vulnerable. I don't like showing my emotions. And especially when you have kids and you work with kids and you work with people with mental health, like, there's plenty of times that I've sat in the car and cried for like 30, 40 minutes, got myself together, went in and saw a client, and everything that I was going through, I had to put it behind me because I have a job to do. And I have a commitment to make sure that my clients are getting the best that they could. I think God works in awesome ways, because right after my dad died, I took some time. I just didn't figure. I couldn't see how I was being beneficial to people. I couldn't counsel people the way I was feeling. Like, half the time I wasn't there mentally. One time, poor client, I went back to work probably too soon, and I feel like they told them that I left because my dad was in a hospital. And my client came in and she said, "Well, how's your daddy doing?" Well, there goes that day. I wasn't ready. I just busted out crying and just told her, like, "Hey, I'll be back." Just walked right out of the school and took another day. But God blessed my husband to get a job in Oklahoma City, and we moved back here, and it was a period of time where I didn't have to work, and I feel like that was good for me. It was good that I didn't have the pressure that I had to immediately get back to work, immediately just hustle and bustle. Like, that was a lot it was good that I was able to. I dropped the kids off, came back home, got in the bed, did it all over again every day. You know, had no ambition, no motivation. So in the end, this journey has been difficult. I don't think I'll ever be the same as before. Like a lot of times I do smile, I do laugh, and I am happy in those moments, but I feel like I'm not as happy as I was a year ago. Knowing that, you know, all the things that he'll miss out on. I go through pictures and I try to find all the pictures. But at the end of the day, I realize there'll never be enough pictures. There'll never be enough, hugs, because you'll always want more. There'll never be enough time that you can spend with them, because no amount of time is enough time for me. That's how I feel. I think the biggest thing in this season is you have to find something to live for. You have to be able to live, and you think about that loved one that passed away. Daddy was full of life. Like, he would roll over in his grave if he knew that we wouldn't survive, because our whole life he showed us the love of God, and that how God protects you, how God carries you, and even in your darkest hours. And so to know that we have given up after his death, I feel like he would not be pleased, because all the things that he instilled in us, we will let go. And so I no longer celebrate Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day has a different meaning for me. It's love, but you're supposed to show love year round. And so I hope that you don't just wait till Valentine's Day to show those people that you love them, that they're special to you. I just wanted to share my journey. I don't know. There's no, I just wanted to get it out. I wanted to talk about how I was feeling about this day. I'm so proud of my mom. She is the strongest woman I know in my life. And I know that my daddy would be extremely proud of her, and how, I'm not going to say well she's handled it, but just her strength. I'm proud of all of my brothers and sisters who we have fought through this year to just kind of stay united and keep our daddy's memory alive. I am thankful. I can't get off without thanking St. Andrew. Oh my goodness. The members and his deacons, St. Andrew would never be the same, because they loved him and he loved them to the core. And it's one thing to say you love a person, and then it's another thing to show that you love a person. But they travel with him. They continue to take care of him, continue to take care of my mom. And so I thank you to St. Andrew. I thank you to Belina and Valerie. During that time when they was in a hospital, they came and they sang for him. Daddy loved Valerie and Sister Belina singing. They brought food for the family. All the calls, all the text messages. I thank everybody. I don't want to start pulling names, but those people were there in those days. And thank you for watching it. And I pray that if you have gone through a death of a loved one, a parent, that somewhere you found peace, somewhere you begin to find your faith again. And I pray that you continue to love and allow love to enter into your life. I don't know who quoted it's better to love once than to not have loved at all. And so the times that I feel like I wish I didn't have people to love, it's just the times where my head is just confused. But I'm grateful for love and I'm grateful for life. And that's all I have to say.